Hello, welcome back to this, our latest episode on our Sports Series vlog. And this time we're doing it on track days and preparing your McLaren to go on track. Now I say it's part of our Sports Series vlog, really this is for all McLarens. But also our particular Sports Series has been converted to a track day car, still road legal, in the GT4R. And so it made sense to do a feature about looking after your McLaren on track and trying to get the best out of it. So whilst this is being done on our 570, it applies to all track days. So we're currently at Donington Park, supporting Greystone GT, where we look after all of their supercar customers, but primarily obviously the McLaren customers. And we look after all the cars to make sure they stay on track. The noise in the background is obviously we're near East Midlands Airport and it makes a bloody racket. Yet they still complain about track noise here. So, first things first. You get to track. We already have done a video, there'll be a link up there somewhere, where we talk about the McLaren track day preparation they do as part of the track day service, which some dealers charge all the money for. So that video covers what's covered in a track day inspection. This is primarily for what you do as an owner when you get to a track to get the best out of your McLaren on track. Now some of the things we're going to talk about here are generic to all cars, all track day cars, everything you do on track, and some specific to McLarens. Now first things first. Obvious thing I can imagine, but we see it all the time, is when you get there, empty out your car of all the crap, okay? We've seen them come along with all kinds of stuff in the front inspection compartment. All kinds of issues come to smash around the place, especially if you have a fire extinguisher in the car and it's not secured in the panel, okay? That rattling around in there is a pretty expensive bit of kit and they do a lot of damage. And I have seen them go off inside people's inspection compartment. It's not pretty and it takes a while to clean up. So that's first thing first, empty everything else out. Second thing is obviously making sure you're all sorted in terms of you, fluid, you're hydrated, you got your helmet, everything else you need. Some track day companies require gloves or arms to be covered, some don't. Making sure you're prepared to go out on track. Now, that's pretty straightforward. The most thing that we tend to find with people is a couple of things they do. And the first thing is tyre pressures. Okay, now, the majority of what we're going to talk about here is tyre pressures, in as much that we get an email a day, and we look after all these cars here, what tyre pressure should I run on my McLaren when I go on track? And the short answer is, I have no idea, okay? Being pretty honest, there is no magical tyre pressure number to go for, okay? What we needed to do is to have a tyre pressure which is suitable to the car for the environment. Okay, so specifically what we're talking about is that tyre pressure is determined by the conditions. How hot is the track? How hot is the weather? How warm are the tyres? All these things are important to talking about the actual track temperature and the tyre pressure, and that indicates the whole thing. So, the answer to the question is what tyre pressure I run at? We don't know. However, what we do as a starting process is we get the car on the still road tyres, we drop them down about 4 psi. Okay, so first thing we do is drop all the tyre pressure down, 4 psi, then go out on track. Okay, do 2 or 3 laps, 3 or 4 laps, come back in, check it again. Okay, the likelihood is you have to keep dropping it down by 2 or 3 psi until you get to a point in time where you're getting the right pressure and temperature of the tyres on track. Now, again, what is the right temperature or pressure to have? Depends on manufacturer. Now for Pirelli, which covers the Trofeo, the P0, they're looking for around about 32 psi hot, okay, which equates to about 25, 26 cold. But forget cold temperatures, by the time you get there, it'll be warmed up. So 32 psi hot. If you're running things like Michelin's, like we are running the Cup 2s on this car at the moment, they want 35 psi hot. Don't actually agree with it, I think it should be a bit lower than that, but that's their recommendation. So we try and aim to get that kind of pressure to get a nice wear pattern on the tyre and to get you maximum grip. Now, speaking of wear patterns, it's a little trick that we've been doing a long period of time, and it applies to racing and a variety of things we do, is that what we're looking to have is have the entire tread pattern of the tyre wearing consistently across the entire face. Now, this means what we're trying to get is a tyre to wear right to the very edge of the tread, okay? Not down the sidewall, but to tread itself. And what you'll find is your road car and road car pressures won't be using anywhere near the edge of the tyre. It'll be overinflated. Because as the car goes around on track, the tyre gets hotter and it literally bulges. So you end up using the middle part of the tread and not the edges. That's why it feels like the car's driving around on tippy toes. So what we need to do is we're looking to basically drop that pressure down until we're using all the tyre across the entire surface down the edges to maximise the grip on tread. Now the easy way to look at this is look at the edge of the tyres. Okay, you get to the edge where the tread comes to an end, and then what you want to do is have tyre wear, as you can see it on the track, right to the edge of that tread. If you're not getting to the edge, the tyre has too much pressure. Drop it down 1-2 psi. If it starts to creep down the side of the sidewall, then you've got not enough pressure in there, add some pressure in if you can. And what you tend to find, you'll get a nice little balanced sweet spot where the tread is wearing quite nicely, and you'll also find out it pretty much hits the tyre manufacturer's pressure they expect the tyres to maximise their performance on track. So that's the best thing to do. Edge a tyre. Sometimes if you're not sure, get a bit of tyre chalk and put an X across on where the edge of the tread meets. If you're ready wearing it down perfectly, you'll end up with a V, or an upside down V, because obviously the top part has been worn off on the tread. So there's no easy way to do it. So that's the majority of things to try. Second thing to do is obviously once you come back off on track, the Mclaren has a specific handbrake system where it automatically comes on. The downside of that is obviously it means you're going to clamp a set of rear handbrake shoes onto your boiling hot disc, which is never a good idea because it cooks the disc, cooks the pad, and potentially can boil the fluid. So the idea is you come back in, get it on a level surface, won't roll away, or bring a chock to chock the wheels, and then when you come to stop the car, put it in neutral, hold the handbrake button, be it on the dash or on the center console, depending on which car it is, hold it on, open the door. Okay, that means the car will shut off, and then you turn the car off. That means when you turn the car off, the handbrake won't automatically come on, it's forced off. Okay, so it means you save a lot of problems in terms of brake fluid, etc., boiling in terms of temperature. Okay, so those are two main things from McLaren we recommend to keep on top of. And the course of the day, keep an eye on your fluids, etc. So do an all level check. I've checked this, I've been out 3 times, I've checked them all 3 times. Because they do tend to use it all if they can. That's worth checking that. Other error message you're going to get, now again this relates to tyre pressures, okay? When you first go out, it will light up like a Christmas tree. It will tell you critical tyre pressure. It's an interesting word to have on your dash, you're driving around a track at high speed, the word critical. It's not much fun. So, ignore it, okay? Ignore all of them, okay? Because it's going to simply give you that message up over and over again and annoy the hell out of you going around track. We are looking at a way and see if there's something we can override or reprogram to stop that coming on. And short of just disabling the sensors entirely, which I'd rather not do for a road car, we haven't found a way yet. Simply pulling a fuse doesn't really work very well on McLaren systems too much. You tend to shut down more important things as well. So for the moment, just ignore it. It'll bing and flash, all kinds of things, ignore it. As long as your tyre pressure is being maintained, you're checking them when you come off the track, you should be perfectly fine. All right, so those are the main things to consider. Obviously little things, making sure you do a cool down lap. At something like Donington, maybe even 2 cool down laps. Try and make sure things aren't getting too hot. Rather than coming in and shut the engine down immediately, let it run for a couple of minutes just to keep the turbos cool. Now again, this applies to all turbocharged cars, but coming in with a boiling hot car, shutting the engine straight down, it means that the oil is no longer circulating around, therefore the turbos are quietly cooking everything. Don't be excessive, sit there running for 10-15 minutes is daft, you're going to get heat soak instead. What you want to do is shut the engine down after a couple of minutes, just enough to let the turbos cool down. But again, this applies to all turbocharged cars, not just McLarens. Tyre pressures, keep an eye on various bits. I'm putting towing eyes in. Again, these are track day rules, that kind of stuff. And keep an eye on the error messages coming up. We have seen some examples of some 650s that are over breathing on the gearbox. They're supposed to breathe through the top breather point. When they get very, very hot on track, they can over breathe, a bit more fluid there. Again, it's only got too hot, it's the answer. Speaking of heat as well, 675 LTs, they are prone to thermostat failure. Okay, when you go out on track, you'll see it overheating. Okay, they have a pair of thermostats, they're prone to failing just on 675s and a few 650s. Not seen it on a 12C or on the Sport Series. If you do get an overheat type process, put the fan on, cool it down. If it carries on happening, it is most likely going to be a thermostat failure on the car. Get it looked at. All right, I can't think else specific about McLarens on track in all honesty. They're very good on track, they survive very well. Try not to crash them. Keep an eye on your fluids, keep an eye on your oil and temperature, etc. And also your tyre pressures, do that little trick we said. Remember, end of the day, put your tyre pressures back up. Going home on a very hot tire and you're cruising home on the freeway is going to drop your pressures down again, and you'll start getting the same alert, and then it becomes more of an issue. All right, so that's useful for you. That's useful for the now. Hope it's useful, Dave. Any comments you got? Happy to hear them. Happy to sort them. Okay, cheers.